Welcome to Scoop Order. Happy Friday. A wild day in the world of Ohio State athletics. A humongous commitment. A wide receiver. We're going to break down a kid that I think you guys are going to love, Quincy Porter, break his film down. New leadership coming for Ohio State baseball. I've been on the phone all day talking about that. So there's a ton of stuff going on. A humongous recruiting weekend. We're going to break that down. Keep moving along, folks. So as always, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. This will be a huge show because you guys make one. Happy Father's Day. All you fathers out there, Nevada and I are both celebrating with our families this weekend. I hope that you guys treat your fathers, or I hope that your kids or your wife or whoever take care of you guys. I hope you guys have a great Father's Day weekend. A membership to BuckeyeScoop.com is a great gift for Father's Day because you get it all year round. It's not something that you're just going to throw in your closet and never use again, like a bad tie or a pair of boxer shorts. So consider getting a membership for BuckeyeScoop.com for that significant person in your life. You won't regret it because our board is literally a feeding frenzy. It is on fire right now. It's absolutely awesome as we sweep into what is going to be the biggest season in Ohio State history, in my opinion, with this new leadership and Chip Kelly and this offensive staff and this talent on this team. This is going to be a wild year. So join BuckeyeScoop.com. It is the Father's Day gift that keeps on giving the whole year round. Again, we appreciate all you guys. Again, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. And in the comments, tell me what your Father's Day plans, especially for a lot of you guys. You got kids. I know usually the wife or your girlfriend or whoever wants to say, hey, what do you want to do for Father's Day? Put it in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys are doing. That being said, Nevada, one of the worst kept secrets in all of the land is that Quincy Porter is now a Buckeye. He has been a Buckeye for, it seems like a long time, committed last week privately. And, he was going to go visit. Sometimes when you look at the final few teams, like it's like Oklahoma, Michigan, Ohio State, and he's got offers from everywhere, Bama, Georgia. But, the real contenders, I'm like, well, one of those things is not like the other. If I'm a skill guy and I'm thinking about going to Oklahoma and playing for Brett Venables, I must be out of my mind. Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback, left. Michigan is an empty vessel in terms of their offensive skill. And I think Quincy Porter, he did again, we talk every night about recruiting is a business decision. Brian Hartline's taking 4 wide receivers this year. So there's 3 spots that were open. Now we're down to 2 because we have 2 wide receivers from the state of New Jersey as our 2 commitments with him and Des Jones. But he's in the fold. He's from Bergen Catholic, which is one of the powerhouses. He's 6'3". He's 190 pounds. He is a monster. And again, got to put Vernell Brown likely in ink. And then you got another spot for one of the Marmadukes, Jamie French or DK Moore. This is going to be a wild and another stellar, impossibly good class. Brian Hartline lands the #1 player in the state of New Jersey today. Your thoughts on Quincy Porter, Nevada?
Well, you say it was one of the worst kept secrets, but clearly the Michigan insiders didn't get the memo on that because they were still posting about how they're going to get this guy, how he's the favorite, and not only does he troll them by committing to Ohio State, he trolls them by canceling his Michigan visit on that day and announces for Ohio State. And then he starts reposting all the trolly stuff from the Ohio State fans laughing at Michigan, thinking they had a chance to get Quincy Porter. So clearly this is a guy that, even though he's from New Jersey, he clearly gets the rivalry already. And you got to love that. You got to love a kid that knows where he wants to go. Michigan, you said empty vessel. It's a sinking vessel right now, kind of circling the drain. But Quincy, it's a big get. Man, this is a big get. This is a kid I wanted as much as anybody in the wide receiver class. I think he's just a big timer, a guy that can play, multiple positions on the field, can go up and get it, can stretch the field, can play in the slot, great hands, great burst, just a great kid. Could play defense as well, could return kicks, can do it all. And I'm just so excited about this one. Like I said, even though we had an inkling it was happening, it's just nice when they happen. To get you're talking about a top 30, 35 player in the entire country. And for Ohio State fans, it's just another day at the office. But great get by Brian Hartline. The wide receiver train just keeps on moving. And the trolling Michigan is just, that never gets, I never get tired of seeing that happen. and this one was super trolly, so it made my day. So thank you, Quincy.
Yeah, and I think with like, when you're doing this stuff for a living and you're, Quincy and you got a big decision to make and you got Brian Hartline as your receivers coach, like there's only so many spots. Like that's something that I felt like, when I was getting recruited and Ohio State was taking one, maybe two offensive linemen, like I think that they used that against me. And so I knew that, they knew as soon as they offered me, I was committing because like I didn't want to, I don't want to be the guy that screwed around and lost my chair. Again, it's like musical chairs. Like when there's one chair left and there's two people walking around it, like you want to do everything in your power to make sure you're the one that when the music stops, you got the spot. So I applaud this move. Again, I hate the schematics and the theatrics that go on with recruiting, and these kids want to go take all these dumb visits that are totally worthless. They're not really interested. I think that when kids know what they want, where they want, again, this is an opportunity to create generational wealth. You go to Ohio State, you play receiver for Brian Hartline. Like if you just do everything they tell you to do, and then you do like 50% more, like Marvin did, and Garrett and Olave and JMO and all the, I mean, it's like you're gonna get paid a fortune in the National Football League, and that's what I'd look at because again, you go to Oklahoma. I don't know if Venables is going to make it much longer. Maybe 2 more years. I mean, he's got a huge contract, long-term deal. So again, the buyout has to be in account. And then you look at Michigan. Like none of those guys have any experience putting guys into the league. Not at the high level. Maybe if you want to be a late round guy or whatever, like that's cute. But it's been a long. I mean, Braylon Edwards was a long time ago, folks. I mean, it's been a long time since Michigan had that monster first rounder. I mean, Funchess was good. Mid-round guy, maybe second or third round, I can't remember. But, since they had Braylon, Braylon was the last guy they had to go first round. And we've had first round guys go every year for the, since Brian took over. So it's a great business decision. I'm happy for the kid. I'm a fan of the way that he's trolling Michigan. I think that that's a smart move to just kind of, get your stock up with Ohio State fans. I think that when you're dealing with, a fan base that, this kid didn't grow up in Ohio and he's from Jersey. And so there's a lot of people today didn't even probably know who he was when they woke up, and now they're figuring out, well, this kid gets it and he wants to be great. And one of the greatest Buckeyes of all time is a Jersey kid, and that's Malcolm Jenkins, who's from Piscataway. And Malcolm's one of the biggest Ohio State supporters, fans. So again, like the Jersey thing is strong. A guy that loved New Jersey football as much as anybody was Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer raved about Jersey because there's a toughness there. There is great, and I mean great coaching in New Jersey. Like Don Bosco, Bergen, like some of these schools, they're juggernaut top 10 national programs. So it's something like you don't really think about. I mean, programs that frankly would wipe the floor with most, 99.9% of the schools in Ohio, because they've got a good combination of talent. They recruit at the high school level, which isn't always legal, but they do it anyways. And they have fantastic coaching. So Urban loved getting kids out of Jersey because they were always tough, like really tough and really talented. And this is another one. So again, we're stacking up another high 4-star, potential 5-star receiver to the class. Nevada, where's this class at now? I mean, they're already number one in the nation. You add another high 4-star kid who's the number one player in the state of New Jersey. Where are we going? Like, I mean, how high is this thing going to go?
Well, it's crazy. I mean, I think the average right now is like 95.29 for the class or some. I mean, it's some ridiculous. It's like the highest number I've ever seen. And as you said, it's only going to get higher. We're in a bunch of kids. It's not like we're done recruiting the 4 and 5 stars. Like we've got a bunch more coming. I mean, look at this weekend. I mean, this weekend you've got Isaiah West, you've got Micah DeBose, Phil Bell, Josh Petty, London Merritt. I mean, this is action packed, and then the next weekend is even more action packed. So Ohio State certainly not taking the foot off the recruiting throttle right now. And having a commit like this, I tell you, on a Friday when you've got a big bunch of kids in, everybody knows about this. Everybody at the Woody Hayes knows about this. Every one of the kids know about this. They all know who Quincy Porter is. And now they just got him to Ohio State. It's just, like I said, it's just another good thing. Everybody's walking around a little taller, a little bit more excited about about the recruiting. And the kids know, man, they can feel it. The kids want to be part of the super team. They want to be part of the now team. They want to be part of the place where everybody's going to, and that's Ohio State. And that wasn't always, that hasn't always been the case. That we haven't always been the now school, but we are now. We are the now school. We're the place that kids want to go to. And how high is this class going to end up? And I believe it will be the highest ranked class in Ohio State history, maybe in college football history, because I can't think of one that's higher. And I don't think we're going down. I think we're only going to go up. So it's rare air for sure.
Yeah, and I think that you're spot on, and what a great time to commit. I mean, he committed right at the beginning of his recruiting weekend, so it's like as much of a stench as there were, with the Aaron Dunston stupidity and all that other stuff. It's like we just took Michigan might have taken basically like a janitor, like a girl that was there. She's a recruiting whatever, and she's an operations person. Which again, operations people are they're not they're a part of the program, but they're completely interchangeable. They're totally they're not worthless. But when you lose one, like nobody really sweats it. It's not like you're losing a coordinator or a position coach. And Aaron was like the number 3 or 4 person. So I mean, it's not like we lost Pantone or lost like a major factor, or we lost somebody who's like a janitor, a clerk, basically. So Michigan can celebrate and pump their chest that they stole her, but we just stole a recruit that would be the best recruit on their roster. I mean, he'd be the best recruit in their class by like a country mile if he committed. And he's in the mid tier because our class is so deep and so highly rated. So I mean, scoreboard Ryan Day, scoreboard Ohio State, another great day. I mean, it's a special day for Ohio State. Again, you get this kid, and I think that it's always good when you have a kid like this commit, because as you get into deeper into the weekend, so on official visit weekend, just to kind of give you the whole scoreboard of how it all works. So Friday, everybody arrives, they fly in at different times from all over the country. We got kids come from all over, and they get in, get settled, head over, get to the hotel, get their stuff dropped off. They go over to the Woody Hayes. They do some meetings. Sometimes they do meet with the position coach, meet all the other recruits, meet with Ryan Day. A lot of high level stuff. Tim Walton will say one of his little sermons, whatever. And then Friday, you got lunch, little dinner. But I think that when you can show all the recruits, hey, this is the kind of love you get from the staff when you commit, and where else would you rather be? I think that it's very positive for the coaching staff. Say, hey, look, you guys can go take these other visits, and that's cute, and but the visits eventually they become. It's kind of like if you could imagine like a scenario like people do like speed dating. They go to some place and you sit down at a table with somebody for 10 minutes and then they ring the bell. And I've never done this, but I've seen it in movies, and it's like that's kind of like what recruiting visits are. It's like, yeah, it's great, but like when you find the one that you really are interested in that's like way better than all the other ones, eventually you're just like, I don't want to go to I don't want to keep rotating. I want to stay here. And that's what like Ohio State is. Like Ohio State, between and again, the NIL has been killing the game. Shout out to the foundation. They're just killing it right now. And again, we're to the point now where we can match any offer in NIL. So, I mean, this thing is, when these things come tied up, all of a sudden it's because you got the program's right, the wide receiver development's right, the NIL's right. And then kids are like, well, I can't find anything even close to that anywhere else. So I'm coming here because it's everything. It's not like, oh, if I go to the Miami Hurricanes, I get more money, or if I go somewhere else, I get better developed. Like Ohio State has everything for basically every position now. So it's incredibly exciting, especially as we got, a kid like DuBose in from Georgia, who's got Ohio ties. He's a big time tackle. We got David Sanders Jr. coming back next week. I mean, this could be a absolute windfall for Ohio State in the recruiting department. And again, this is where, some of these guys gotta be on their A game. I mean, again, it's not all Justin Fry when it's an offensive tackle on the board. I mean, you gotta get Ryan Day going, you gotta get Chip Kelly, Mickey Marotti, Pantone. Like, you gotta pull out every stop known to mankind when some of these big time tackles are coming to town, because again, like, you gotta beat sometimes the home team. And I think we've got a great shot on a couple of on DuBose for sure, and for David Sanders, I think we're the leader. So this is going to be a fascinating next few weeks, and Hey, what a good Father's Day present. We get a couple good tackles, man. That's going to be something to celebrate on BuckeyeScoop.com. Nevada, they got one camp day left, and then it's kind of the summer two conditioning grind is going to take over. What are your thoughts on where the team's at right now? You had a really good nugget on BuckeyeScoop.com today talking about some of the new adds to the program and how it's really exploding and some of the new things that we're doing since we've added Chip Kelly. But what are your thoughts on where the team is right now?
I mean, look, it's a hungry team. I mean, it's a team that is really they've taken to heart the fact that a lot of them don't feel like they've really accomplished much at Ohio State. I don't think they've won a Big Ten championship. They haven't beaten Michigan. They certainly haven't won a national championship. And for a group this talented, this insanely talented, that type of stuff stings. And usually I don't put a lot of stock in that. Every year it's like, oh, they're hungry. Oh, they're upset. Oh, they're really working. Oh, Mick's really working them hard or whatever it is. But I think this group is special. And I think it manifested itself. The way it's special is by all the kids that came back. That is, we can talk about NIL and we can talk about the money and everything else like that. But you don't come back unless you really like it here, unless you're really trying to do something that you want to be part of. Because they could have gone and got the money. They could have got more money in the NFL, but they decided they wanted to come back. And, I think that's the most powerful statement that you can make because, talk is cheap about your love for the thing, the brotherhood, wanted to beat Michigan, wanted to win a national championship, wanted to be an All-American, wanted to get a tree in the Grove. But when you come back when you don't have to, well, I mean, that speaks volumes to me, and it's been that way the whole offseason with these kids. That's all they talk about. It's why they're in such superb shape. Coach Mick barely has to go to the whip with these guys at all because they're working themselves so hard. And I think it's just a supremely talented team that's in tip-top shape with very, very few question marks. So where are we standing? Right at the top of the college football world, and it's like I said, if anything, it's building momentum. The tempo is kind of increasing as we get, less than 3-digit days, towards kickoff, and it's not going to be too long until we're in fall camp, and these guys know that as well. So, I just, like I said, I think the impact of Chip Kelly's being felt, the impact of those guys returning is being felt, and the excitement of the 2024 season is building, and you can definitely feel that it's palpable around the team right now.
I totally agree. I think it's something where we've got a lot of stuff that's going on with the team and with everything that's these guys are starting to feel their mortality. I think when only like if you're Jack Sawyer, you've got 100 days till kickoff plus another 4 months. January 20th. I mean, it's the sand's coming out of the hourglass pretty quick here, and it's something that I think is it's weird because like it seems like you blink your eyes and Jack Sawyer was debating on he sat out his senior year and he was going to play in the January season that they were going to have during the wild year that was COVID in 2020. And then like you blink your eyes twice and all of a sudden he's done. I mean, he's literally, I mean, again, like this is something that I lived where, you're recruited and start getting recruited as a freshman and sophomore. And then you come to Ohio State and you're the young kid. And then all of a sudden, you're the old guy. And all of a sudden it's, that's it. And so again, I think that a guy like Jack Sawyer, who's got a lot of pride, is a guy that wants to leave the place better than he found it. Is a kid that wants to make sure that the young people kind of can understand the kind of the pathway forward. And again, like those guys, they want to leave with a victory against Michigan more than anything in the universe, along with obviously playoffs and national championship. But you got to beat Michigan. I mean, you can't roll, and have this situation where you're a class that goes over versus the Wolverines. I mean, he's going to be a captain and he's going to walk across that field. And again, I had that same feeling when I was a senior captain. I mean, you want to talk about selling everything, selling I don't say selling your soul because that's a little too much, but it's like, I mean, you give up anything to beat Michigan your senior year because, and again, I was in a different situation because I'd never lost to Michigan. These guys have never beaten Michigan, so it's like it's kind of the other end of the coin where you don't want to be the class that goes over and I know we've had some 3-and-out guys go over, but you don't want to go a full 4 years and never beat those guys. And I think that this is the year. I mean, we are so far up ahead of Michigan. Our staff is so much better than Michigan. Our players are way better than Michigan. So, if there's a time to come back and, let's right the ship and get it right, like this is the year. And we're at home to boot. But I think that, some of these seniors, like, and I've talked to some of these guys. I'm like, look, don't be scared to be an a-hole. Don't be scared to be a mean guy or a prick because, this is your last go. Like a lot of these other kids, they get to come back and they get to, maybe right the ship or straighten it out or, oh, hey, maybe we'll get them next year. But like, dude, for you, there is no next year. Like after this season, you'll never play Michigan again unless we see them in the playoffs. But like in all likelihood, you're never going to see them. You don't get to run it back if you lose this one. So I think that there's a heightened tension. I think that there's more anxiety. I think that there's more, and anxiety is not always a bad thing. Anxiety can be very healthy because it makes you do a little bit more. I mean, Jack Sawyer is in exceptional shape. I mean, his diet is completely dialed in, not going out very much, very locked in, getting that extra workout in, doing an extra 2-3 workouts on days where, he feels it and diet. I mean, again, like I said, there's this phenomenon, and I always talk about it where, when that NFL is at the end of the tunnel, there's not I'm a junior and I could come back. It's like, no, at the end of this year, you get to determine how much money you're going to make. So how dialed in do you want to be? How great do you want to be? And that's a phenomenon that's affected Tyleik Williams. Like Tyleik has lost a lot of fat. His big knock is stamina. And if he can play hard all the time in that big body, he's going to be terrifying. JT, again, if he's leaner, he can bend the corner and pass rush a little bit better. Jack, I mean, those guys were as good as there was in the country, and now they're in. And again, guys are always. It's like I'm not knocking guys saying they're not in good shape, but like when it's like your audition for the National Football, like, this is it. Then everything gets dialed in more. It's like if a girl does a beauty pageant, magically she is on a tight diet. Magically she does. She's hitting the gym a little bit more. She's working a little bit harder. She's not drinking on that glass of wine, whatever. Like that's where these guys are. I mean, and again, their mortality is very real, and that's a real phenomenon. Like you get these seniors, and they magically have these huge years because everything is dialed in, and that anxiety exists. I'm telling you, that's palpable in the Woody Hayes right now because they know what's at stake with this Michigan game. This is a career-defining game for the players, for Ryan Day, for the program. So it's nice to beat Quincy Porter on them. But I'm telling you, this is going to be a very interesting season because I think that there's going to be a lot of tension, a lot of fighting, a lot of angst, and I think that bodes well for Ohio State because you want the guys to be edgy and tight and ready to go. It's like those aren't bad traits; those are really good traits, in my opinion. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's a great point. I think it's a great point. And look, if there ever was a year, I've said this a million times, though. We've lost 3 times to Michigan. 2 of the 3 times were in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor's a tough place to play, and for them to come in and beat us in Columbus is clearly not impossible. They've done it, but it takes a mighty effort to do that, and they're going to have to be really good or really cheating. I don't think they're going to be able to be cheating as much anymore. And with the helmet communications, I think that thing's going to be mitigated as well. And the game's in Columbus, so I think we take care of business this year. I would bet a lot of money that we take care of business this year. I will be betting a lot of money that we take care of business this year. And I just think it's a special team, and you can feel it. You just know before a college football season, and we've seen it before, and it doesn't have to be an Ohio State team. But you can look at teams across the college football world, and you just know, wow, that team's loaded. That team is loaded. That team is going to be really tough out. They're going to be tough to beat. And that's the feel that Ohio State has this year. It has the feel of an epic recruiting class, for the future, and an epic on the field class for the present. And for Ohio State fans, that just means we win all the way around. And but my last admonishment that I want to make you guys is enjoy every minute of this. Don't rush through the season. Don't be like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy it until the Michigan game because it doesn't mean I've heard that 1,000 times, and I'm like, man, don't be that guy. Like, enjoy every minute of this team. Enjoy every minute of these games. The seasons go way too fast. Let's not wish them to end. Like I said, enjoy the first quarter of the Akron game to the last quarter of the national championship and everything in between, but don't put off enjoying this team until after we beat Michigan, because you'll have missed 75% of a great season.
Yeah, and don't stress it, because again, like I know a lot of people national title bus, and again, this is the absolute biggest national championship or bust team I've ever seen. But I'm going to enjoy every game, every week. I'm not going to stress out over the score. I'm going to enjoy these players because the thing about like Ohio State is like when Trey Henderson walks off the field, you never get to see him again in a Buckeye uniform. You never get to see Jack Sawyer, JT, Emeka, a lot of these kids because that's it. That's the thing about college football is you better enjoy these kids while they're here because you'll blink and we'll beat the Michigan game or the Big Ten championship game, and that's real. All right, some super chats. Gio did it. Thank you for the 5. I appreciate you, my friend. Happy Father's Day. Not sure if you're a father, but to anyone that is a father, including you, Gio did. If you are a father, happy Father's Day to you. Gotta love the aggressive nature that Brian Hartline recruits. He waits for no one. DK Moore, Vernell Brown, Jamie French take notice. I agree. I mean, you gotta, and again, that's something that I think you have to impress on these kids is like, guys, like, we only got 4 spots. So if you guys want to go screw around and take a bunch of visits to places that you don't really care about because you want to go, eat catered meals and go out at night and see other places, like that's fine. But like once the seats are taken, like you could be left out. So, like again, I would be, if I'm dying to go to Ohio State, like I was when I was getting recruited, like I wasn't waiting around. As soon as Jim Tressel offered me, I told my high school coach, I said, call him, tell him I'm coming. I don't want to visit Stanford. I don't want to visit Northwestern. I don't want to visit Vanderbilt. Like I had all the big academic schools. Those are the ones I wanted to go to. If Ohio State didn't offer, I want to go to Stanford. And I literally was like, call him, say, I'm coming. I don't want, because I hated recruiting. I hate not knowing, where I'm going to be at in a year. Like I hate that feeling. So it was pretty wild, and it happened quick, and Truss was he was good with it. And my coach, who I loved to death, was like, well, make sure why don't you go home and talk to your mom. I was like, she doesn't have a say in this. Like I love my mom to death, but like I'm going to Ohio State. I don't care. I mean, she's not going to say, oh no, I want you to go 4 hours or 6-hour flight away to Stanford or 5-hour drive to Northwestern. I was like, that's where she wants me to go. I was like, just do it. And again, I think that when these kids dive in, man, it's like, it's smart because you lock in your chair in the best receiver room in the entire country. And it's not even a debate. It's not even close anymore. So, he's going to get to show up next January and learn from JJ. JJ Smith, I mean, the report I got on him today is, 42-inch vertical in recent testing, ran a 23 point whatever mile hour, which is faster than Marvin Harrison, fastest on the entire team. And he's not only the fastest guy on the entire team, he's the biggest receiver we've ever had, in my opinion. I don't think we've ever had a bigger specimen than him. And he's got a 42-inch vertical. I mean, literally, like he is the best receiver in college football already, and he hasn't even played a game. I mean, so him starting is not even a question anymore. It's just what are the stats going to look like, and can he handle the long college season, because it's going to be a very long season compared to a high school season. But I think it's a great point. Gio did it again. Thank you for the 5. Nevada, happy Father's Day. Gotta love the aggressive nature that Brian Hartline recruits. He waits for no one. DK Moore, Vernell Brown, Jamie French take notice. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, he's a savage, and the good news is he's not the only savage on the staff. You've got Tim Walton, you've got Laurinaitis. I mean, you've got other guys that can really recruit at an extremely high level, and that's why we're bringing guys in like we are. And for Brian, one of the few ways to leverage kids is with space. That's the only way you can really kind of get them anymore. When NIL's kind of a wash, and academics are kind of a wash, and you've got stuff, and how do you move them up on their decision tree? Well, you say, look, you first come, first serve. We're going to take 4, and hey, we'd love to have you, but don't mess around. But I think a lot of these kids have communicated to Brian. That's why the silent, the magic of the silent commitment. And you may say, well, why go on these trips? Well, look, it's one of the few times when you get to go and eat your carrot cake and have your steak and lobster and have people falling all over themselves. And, for some of these kids, it may be the last time in their life or the only time in life this ever happens. So I don't begrudge anybody taking visits because I understand it. I think that for Ohio State, I think they've got a pretty good idea who's going to be in this class already, kind of like we did with Quincy. I think Vernell Brown's already in. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of drama coming down the stretch. This is going to be an exceptional class. But today was a great day with Quincy Porter. Like I said, but Quincy Porter coming in and stiffing Michigan on the eve of his visit is just, I'm sorry, but that will never not be funny to me. And I love the On3 guy, the E.J. Holland, whatever, write this article about Quincy Porter and Michigan, the leader, and how they're going to, and he doesn't even go. So it's like, dude, like it's one thing to be wrong, but it's another thing to be wrong. Like the guy didn't even go to his visit to your school. That's how not in this match you guys were. So yeah, sucks for Michigan, great for Ohio State. Go Bucks.
Yeah, and again, like if I'm that kid, I'm just, you got to look at what kind of situation you're getting into. I mean, he might have grown up a Michigan fan. I don't know. I don't really care. But you look at that recruiting class and not a lot going on there. You look at what could be going on at Michigan pretty quick here with the NCAA. I don't want any part of that. You look at if Quincy goes to Ohio State, well, we've already got, we got Dez, who's a Jersey kid. We're going to get Fernell. You're going to be a year behind JJ, so you'll be with JJ for 2 years before he goes to the league. So, where do you want to go to get better? I mean, Brian Hartline has proven that he puts, if you do exactly what Brian Hartline tells you to do, and you're talented, you're going to be a first round pick. So I don't know what is a better recruiting pitch on this earth than you. And you get to live in Columbus, Ohio. And Columbus is a great city to live in, great downtown, great school, vibrant. Big, nice city with a nice airport that's easy to fly into for your folks. I mean, I don't know. Well, they got a lot going on, but like I said, it makes me happy that all this can go down and this kid can sift Michigan. Because again, I think that it's a problem when you look at their recruiting class and it's a wasteland. It's atrocious because I wouldn't go there. If I'm a 5-star kid and I've got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, like there's no way I'm considering Michigan. I got to go where the other good players are with the stable coaching staff. And, again, like Ohio State's the ultimate tiebreaker at the wide receiver position, just because, Brian Hartline is the guy that's putting the guys into the league. It's not, like you go to these other schools, like, Brian Kelly's only been at LSU for a couple years. So, they can't really claim some of, he can't claim Jamar Chase and Jefferson. He will say because he went to LSU, but they didn't have anything to do with that. So, I think that you want to go to the school and the guy that's still in the development, and that's Brian. And I think Brian, he earns a salary. He does a great job. And, this is, it's like, I couldn't imagine this kid being on his official visit, committing right at Jump Street. And you get to kind of ride that whole wave of happiness and momentum and excitement from the coaching staff for the whole time. I think it's fantastic, and I think that it's major kudos to Quincy Porter for doing that. I think that it's and honestly, I think it helps get the other kids excited because the other kids are going to see how the coaching staff because it's not just the coaching staff, it's the coaching staffs, it's their wives, it's their kids, it's like the whole families. It's a big incubator of like Ohio State goodness when you go on these visits. So, Quincy Porter is going to be, Ryan Day and Ryan Day's wife and Brian Hartline's wife. They're all going to be showing love to Quincy Porter and his folks that are there. And these other recruits are going to see all that. They're going to say, hey man, this is real. When they commit here, it's special. It's exciting. They've got a very detailed plan. Because again, the thing that Ohio State does a great job with recruiting is like they do very individualized plans for each kid about again, like if you want to be a great coach, and I'm talking like a great coach, outline the flaws in the kid's game. Say, hey, I can help you with your top ends on your route running. I can help you with your releases. I can help you with your hands. I can help you with you have trouble tracking the deep ball. You have whatever. Like, I mean, I just named a bunch of different vernacular for wide receivers, but like, hey, these are things that we're going to, and this is a specific drill that we're going to do. And this is how we made, Chris Olave into an incredible deep threat, or we made whoever, Jameson Williams. I mean, these are drills that we did for him that we're going to do with you. And we're going to get you from here to here. Because again, it's easy for a coach to walk in and the kid walks in the room and say, well, you are the most polished, perfect player I've ever seen in my life. I don't know how on God's earth he created you, but you're the greatest thing ever. And once you get here, all we got to do is hand you a jersey and some shoulder pads and throw you out there, and you're going to be, rocket ship to the first round, and away you go. It's like, no, dude, like, this is what you need to get better at. You got to get more flexible. You got to I'd break these linemen down to the nitty gritty and say, look, this is where you need to get better. This is where we can help you. This is how we're going to help you. These are drills we're going to do. This is what we're going to do in the weight room. And that's what, again, if you want to like really crush people, your opponents in recruiting, like break down the kid's deficiencies in front of his parents, guardians, whoever, and say, look, this is how we're going to make your son into, we're going to maximize him. We're going to, I'm not saying first round, but he's not going to leave here and have, any meat left on the bone. He's going to be like, hey, these guys couldn't have done any more humanly possible to make me into the highest caliber NFL draft pick that I am. And again, it doesn't happen. It doesn't always happen. Like, again, this isn't perfection, but you want a kid to develop to his highest threshold. And I mean, Brian Hartline's that he might be the best that we've ever seen doing it at this point with his first round streak that is ungodly. Jermaine Goins, thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, my friend. Will Howard had more interceptions and a lower completion percentage than Kyle McCord last season. I'll see an upgrade from Kyle McCord. Can Chip Kelly and Ryan Day fix this, or is this who he is as a quarterback? Nevada OH. Well, I mean, you got to look at who Will Howard's thrown to. I mean, go look at Kansas State receivers. I mean, I don't know if they've had a receiver get drafted since Jordy Nelson. I mean, they're not. That ain't exactly some high flying. And I'm sure that there's somebody you can put in the chat. There's some guy that I don't know, and he was a superstar or whatever. But I don't. Will Howard has spoken at length to people on the program about how it's just completely a night and day difference between here and Kansas. I mean, between the expectations, the work habits, the way Ryan Day coaches and grinds these quarterbacks into sawdust to make them as good as they can be, to everything. I mean, I'm telling you, like, he's never seen anything like JJ Smith, let alone Emeka, let alone Carnell. Offensive line's good. I mean, he's got two running backs better than, I mean, his best skill guy that he had over his career was Deuce Vaughn, who's the 5'5" guy who was a 6th rounder to the Cowboys. Kind of a, I mean, I don't want to dog the kid out, but his dad's a scout for the Cowboys, and it was a really cute YouTube video when Jerry Jones said, "Hey, we're gonna pick your boy, and you can do the call," and like, I mean, that's cute, that's great, whatever. But like, that ain't JJ Smith, who could be the first pick in the draft in 3 years. That ain't Quinn Sean and Trey Henderson, and so so here's my thing. Just put on your cap, put on your thinking cap real quick. If you swapped the two guys last year, you put Will Howard at Ohio State last year with Marvin and Emeka and the crew, and then you put Kyle McCord at K-State last year, do you really think that Kyle McCord would have improved Kansas State? No. I mean, Will Howard with his running ability, and again, with Chip Kelly calling the plays, because Chip Kelly is going to run Will Howard a lot. Because again, this is all the chips in the middle of the table here. This is a year where you can't hold anything back. So I think we win the national championship last year if we had Will Howard instead of Kyle McCord. I thought Kyle McCord in the biggest games was terrified. We played Notre Dame, played Michigan. Again, did we almost, we beat Notre Dame because they had 10 guys on the field for 2 plays because they're just complete morons. And against Michigan, we throw a pick six to start the game, a throw that any idiot in the universe would have known not to make when you've got an inside leverage guy in Will Johnson, and Marvin jogs a slant and Will jumps it and runs it back to the 2-yard line. Like, I mean, that is a play that you can't throw interceptions, basically a pick six, because they got on the 2-yard line and then Michigan punched in for the touchdown, took all the wind out of our balloon. Like, you can't do that in a game against Michigan. That's an impossibly stupid throw. And again, like, Ryan Day could have kept Kyle McCord. He could have paid Kyle McCord. He could have said, "Hey, you're my guy." But Ryan Day did not believe in Kyle McCord. So he went on and got Will Howard. And Ryan Day, I trust his QB evaluations more than I'll ever trust my own QB evaluations. So I'll just leave it like that. So this is the guy he wanted. This guy he got. There's a lot of upside, a lot of excitement around him in the building. And I think Will Howard he's a monster. And again, can you improve accuracy? Of course. Like, you give me better receivers that can catch and get open with, they can get more separation, then yeah, of course I'm gonna be more accurate when I have to throw it, into tight coverage. And, I've got receivers that can't separate. Like the guys at Ohio State, like Emeka and JJ, they can separate from anybody. So there's gonna be a lot easier throws to be made for Will Howard. And he's going to run this year. So again, I think that, you know, worrying about numbers is kind of a fool's errand because again, I always say that quarterbacks they are totally a side product of their infrastructure. And again, when you've got a great line, Chip Kelly, Ryan Day, Quinshon Judkins, Trey Henderson, JJ. I mean, that is as good as you can get in college football. So, if he still stinks after having all those players, then yeah, that's a different world. But I can't see it happening, and I think he's going to have a monster year, which is why he's like the number 3 or 4 bet in the Heisman right now. But Nevada, your thoughts? Jermaine Goins, thank you for the 20. He says, Will Howard had more interceptions and had a lower completion percentage than Kyle McCord last season. How is he an upgrade from Kyle McCord? Can Chip Kelly and Ryan Day fix this, or is it just who he is as a quarterback? Your thoughts, Nevada? You are muted, Mr. Buck.
Oh, Bo Nix. Just
exactly.
Go look at his stats. Bo Nix, he's out there and I think he was 57% at Auburn, 59, 61, and then he goes to Oregon, 77%. So did Bo Nix just magically get better? Or does scheme matter? I mean, you got to remember, Kansas State, as you said, Kansas State does not have a single player on their team that was even recruited by Ohio State. They can even sniff an Ohio State offer. And so you just imagine yourself in that situation where you've got to go on the field and play Texas or somebody like that with a bunch of guys that just aren't as good, that can't get open as much, that can't block as hard. That it's the whole game is on top of you. So you've got to take more chances. You've got to throw into tighter windows. Will Howard has said kind of famously since he came here, he goes, I was barely even coached at Kansas State. And he goes, that's not a diss of those guys. Just this is a completely different experience here at Ohio State. So how do I think he's going to do? I think he's going to do unbelievably well. And as you said, none of that even touches on his running ability, which I think completely changes our running game. So we're just talking about his passing, but his running game is going to change everything. I think he's the perfect horse for the course with this Ohio State offense. And yeah, I think it's going to make, again, all you have to go look at Bo Nix's numbers at Auburn, and then go look at him at he turned himself into a first-round draft pick. He got run out of Auburn because he wasn't any good, and then he comes to Oregon, and all of a sudden, he's Joe Burrow. Scheme matters, coaching matters. It'll matter with Will Howard, and he's going to have a monster year.
Well, and like again, I don't need to do the layup because you literally just said his name. But like, look at Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow's the guy that we didn't chase him out here because we had Dwayne, but Dwayne was a year younger, and so we went with Dwayne, and we took Joe went to LSU, which is great. But he also had Joe Brady, who at the time was the hottest. He's one of the hottest play callers in the NFL, and he'll probably be an NFL head coach in a year or two. He's the OC for the Bills now, but he was the OC there, and he had Chase and Jefferson and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and his offensive line won the Joe Moore Award for best O-line. So, again, Joe's been fantastic. Obviously, Pro Bowler, NFL MVP candidate, but he had Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase on the same field in college, and those are like 2 of the top 5 guys in the NFL right now. And Jefferson's probably at 1, and Chase is probably like 4 or 5, but. It made his life a lot easier, and he looked really good and had some pretty crazy numbers. But yeah, and again, he can look like Tebow. He at Florida when he had Urban Meyer and that offense and Percy Harvin and they're running him to death, like he looked like a juggernaut. And he goes to the NFL, and all of a sudden, they're trying to they're trying to make, like a guy who's basically a fullback playing quarterback into like a thrower, and the infrastructure didn't work. That wasn't his skill set. So sometimes I think that, you get these gurus that think they can make these guys into traditional quarterbacks, and it just doesn't work. Like Will Howard's the guy is not a traditional quarterback. He's a guy that can run, and he's big, and he's built for the rugged, cold Big Ten, which I think will be great for us. Chocolate Chip Scoochie, thanks for the deuce. I hope you're good, my friend. Only Michigan would celebrate our scraps. How sad. Clown emoji, skull emoji. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the Aaron Dunston thing is, you have to understand, like when you hire an operations director, that is like, this is what an operations director does. They organize the camps. They make sure that the hotel rooms are booked. They make sure that the flights are good. They make sure that the Jersey Mike's is delivered on time for they make sure that the chicken tenders are there after the game in the post game meals. I mean, that's what they do. They're there to organize the program and hey, we need more staplers. Hey, we need a new printer. Hey, we need, new cleats or whatever. Like that's their job. So, I mean, are they important? Of course. But are they, disposable? Of course. I mean, if we lost Quinn Temple, who's our operations guy, like, be great. But, when I worked there, Quinn was a manager. I mean, he was an unpaid manager, really nice kid. He was an intern, kind of worked his way up. But, like we've lost Fernando Lovo was an operations guy, and nobody even knew that he left. Nobody even cared. He went to Texas or he went to Houston with Tom Herman, and then he went to Texas with Tom Herman, and then he went to the Jaguars with Urban. Now he's back at Texas. But like when Fernando left, nobody cared. Nobody even knew who he was. So I think they can celebrate it because it looks like a hollow victory, but it's literally like it's like hiring a custodian from Ohio State and saying, "Ooh, we got you." It's like we'll get somebody else. We'll be okay. Nevada, your thoughts? Chocolate chip Scoochie. Again, thanks for the juice. Says only Michigan would celebrate our scraps. How sad. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're looking for anything to be happy about, and look, when they got Alford, it was means for celebration. They were going to get Bo Jackson. They were going to get all these, and we got Bo Jackson. Kind of related but different note, we are going to be getting another running back commitment this weekend. Isaiah West. I texted you a picture. We've shown a picture of him before, but he's the new Quadzilla at Ohio State because every day is leg day with Mr. West, and good looking running back for sure. And I think this is going to be a 3 running back class of Jackson, West, and Davison. And we'll compare that to Tony Alford's class at Michigan's other big victory of this offseason. And we'll compare the two and we'll see how they do. But my money's on the Buckeyes.
You're saying it's better to have 3 running backs committed than none?
I think that 3 is better than 0. It's just 3 quality guys, and especially one with quads like Isaiah West, man. Dude, that guy looks like a young Kirk Barton. Dude.
I'll find the photos of Quadzilla in a second. I'm gonna take it up right now. Jim Jackson, our Seminole. What is up, brother? Thank you for the 5. Burke, do you still feel as strongly about the other potential wide receiver commits? I feel okay about Jamie French. I feel incredibly good about Vernell. DK's got a decision to make. He's back at LSU. I mean, he's kind of all over the place, but I mean, I don't honestly worry about wide receiver. I mean, there isn't a thing in this universe I could care less about than who we get at wide receiver because whoever Brian gets is going to be great. So, again, that's like one of those. It's like it'd be like if I worried if Jeff Bezos had enough money to order DoorDash for dinner tonight or something. It's just such a waste of my energy and my emotion. So, I don't know. What do you think, Nevada? I think it's something I don't worry about. Do you feel strongly? Again, Jim, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Nevada, how do you feel about our other potential wide receiver commits?
I think Vernell Brown's in. I think he is in, in. And frankly, whoever else we get is going to be fine. Ohio State still feel like they're both in it for both Decory Moore and Jamie French, so they feel like they're at it. They've had a pretty good barometer on this stuff, but yeah, look, we're in year 1 of JJ Smith. JJ Smith, as you said, could be the best receiver in college football, and he's just a freshman, so we're going to have him for three seasons, which is an absolutely terrifying proposition. So worrying about 2025, and I know nobody's worrying about it, but yeah, we've got an incredible wide receiver room right now. But I think Vernell Brown's in. I've got him in at my mock, and whoever else joins him, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you, and it's not something I'm going to sweat because the guys. If we just had the 2 guys that we got now, with Dez and Quincy, like I'm fine with those 2. I'm sure we'll add 2 more, and I think that Vernell's. We got the NIL pencil sharpened, folks, and again, I think that's going to put it over the top with Vernell. And plus, like Florida is such a dumpster fire right now. Like you can't even if you played there. Like if my kid was getting recruited by Ohio State, and it was just a nightmare. I don't know. I mean, sometimes you got to make it a business decision. I think that's what Vernell Brown and his folks are about to do. Jeremy Moreland, thank you for the 10. Appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Try to imagine what it's like to walk that walk, but it is impossible. So, what's it like to walk through the tunnel? And exactly when did it hit you and other players that it was almost over? That's a great question. Um, the tunnel is I mean, there's every emotion in the world. I mean, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's excitement, there's everything. And if people tell you anything other than that, they're just total liars because, I saw a kid get paralyzed. I saw Tyson Gentry get paralyzed right in front of me in the horseshoe during an '06 scrimmage in the spring ball. And so, like, when you go out there, there's always a little thought that something could happen, and again, you don't want to think like that. You don't try to think like that. You don't ever be negative as you're going on the field, but like, it happened. I saw it happen. So, you always worry, you never, when you're playing football, you never take for granted walking off the field. You always, people, every time I walked off the field, I thanked God that I was able to walk off the field and I wasn't hurt or immobilized or whatever. Cause I've seen, we saw guys get carted off and all that kind of stuff. And I was always able to walk off. Thank God. I was lucky. But it's a blend of excitement. And again, it's also, you're always remember, like, for everyone in that building, 106,000 people, like, they're not as invested as the 200 people in the dressing room, because if we lose, it sucks. And people are, despondent. Obviously our fan base it can be very, they get in the dumps, they get depressed and they get negative and nasty when we lose, which is fine. I mean, I like it like that. I'd rather that they care than not care. But, for the people in that room, man, I mean, it's life changing. I mean, there's people who lose their jobs. We lose to Michigan. I mean, we fired Shiano, Greg Studwara off those Michigan losses. I mean, it was, guys lose their jobs off of poor performances in games. So, you always want to, as a player, you want to make sure that you're not the guy that costs your coach his job. You want to play as hard as you can and do all you can. And it doesn't mean you're going to be perfect because it's still football, but you want to make sure that when you're done with the day, a game day, that you didn't leave anything out there. You didn't dog it. You weren't lazy. You were as sharp as you could be. It's important, but again, it's very stressful. It's a lot of anxiety because you don't want to be Ryan Hamby. You don't want to have that moment where you drop the ball and everybody, that's what you're remembered for the rest of your life. Because at Ohio State, you're remembered for the biggest moment that you create. It's either Jake Ballard catching the ball versus Oregon in the Rose Bowl, Ryan Hamby dropping the ball versus Texas. And again, I'm not being mean or nasty, but you go walk around and talk to diehard Ohio State fans and say, when you say the name Ryan Hamby, like, what does it bring up? Oh, he dropped the ball against Texas. Could have won the game. Could have been national champions, but it is what it is. So, that's always kind of in the back of your mind. Like, I don't want to give up like a sack fumble and Troy Smith blows his ACL out because I missed my block or whatever. Because, if you scrub as an offensive tackle, like, it could be a sack fumble, it could be a tipped ball interception, it could be an injury to your star quarterback. So that's always in your head. Now, normally, like, when I'm walking out there, I'm in this like mentality where it's like, let's go get after it and play as hard as we can and try to inflict violence on the opponent because, I was always a big fan of, hey, let's run the ball and pound these guys early and really start building up the cumulative effect of our running game. And that's something where, when we do our cream puff offense where we just throw the ball 70 times, like, you don't get to really hurt the defense the way you can if you run the ball and you're physical with them. And that's something that, honestly, like, I've seen teams that were very physical wear our guys down because they maul them. Like, I mean, Notre Dame did it, Michigan did it. Now, granted, we beat Notre Dame, but their offensive line physically was wearing our guys out, and it's part of it's because some of those guys need to step up so that poor Jack Sawyer and JT they're not stuck in there every single play. But that was something I always wanted because I was like, let's just get going and we'll roll. But in terms of hitting it when it's over, I mean, when you get down to that final month, man, it's tough, especially when you've got a home Michigan game. We had a road Michigan game, but like the weeks just fly by. I mean, you get into the last 3 weeks of the season. I mean, you've got single digit practices left in the Woody Hayes and, you got bowl practice and stuff, which is great, but it all starts to hit. You get senior tackle and the rest. So cause like I told people, I was like, when you're done, you're done. You don't get to go lace them back up. Cause with football is different than every other sport in the world. Cause with football, when you're done, you're done. Like there isn't like a rec football league. There isn't like hey, I'm going to go play go play at the YMCA. Like if you're a basketball player, you can play in the YMCA till the day you die. If you're a golfer or baseball, you can go play a wood bat league until you're 65 years old. When football's over, it's over. Like you're not going to go play in a rec football game because the game's too violent and it's too dangerous. And I know that there's idiots that go play in the park and have these stupid like semi-pro leagues, but the game's too violent. Like you're not going to do that without proper, insurance coverage and all that because you don't want to blow your ACL out because some idiot, does something stupid in a game. So it's tough, but I loved it and it was a blast. And I really wouldn't change anything because I went really hard and that helps me sleep like a baby at night because I know I didn't leave anything out there on the field. Nevada Jeremy, again, thank you for the 10 and being an Ultra member. He says he tries to imagine what it's like to walk that walk, but it's impossible. So it's like to walk through the tunnel and exactly when it hit you in other places when it's almost over. I know that this is almost impossible for you to answer, but is there anything you'd like to add or any second layer question that you'd like to ask?
No, it's just I felt the same way you did when I went there for like that last thing of hot cocoa at the end of the season or something like that. When I know it's going to be like another 9 months until I get the hot cocoa again, and so it's kind of a similar feeling to that you had after the Michigan game in '07 when I'm kind of hanging it up there and you're walking around the suite level and all the suites are cleared out and stuff like that. So I think that we've had very very similar experiences in Ohio Stadium. Almost
Well,
almost eerie how much they've been the same.
Well, the funny thing is, man, they run you out of their fat. I mean, dude, it's like I'm
They
talking
do.
20,
They do.
20,
They
20 minutes after the game, they say, all right, you got to leave. And I'm like, can we wait
right.
till traffic clears out? No. You have to leave right now and go walk to your car. And I'm like, because I mean, I remember like a few years ago, it wasn't like you could hang out for like an hour afterwards and just watch whatever games are on TV for a little bit. Because like the problem is like you get to the end of the game and everybody's leaving the stadium. The traffic is an absolute nightmare to get home because they close up the that 670 ramp or that 315 ramp, excuse me, that used to be right by the hospital. That's gone now because they're redoing the hospital. So it's like the traffic's never been worse at Ohio State. So if there's ever a time where I just like to hang out for a little bit, it's now, but they're just like, nope, get out of here. We'll catch you next week. The cocoa is good though. Zach Donda, thank you for the 5. With Quincy in the fold, is it possible we land at the remaining 3? Or are we only taking 2? Can't wait for the season. Go Bucks. Nevada OH.
I
Well, I think that you're not counting Dez because Dez is in the fold too. So we have 2 receivers because you say land the remaining 3. Excuse me, I misread your thing. I don't know if we're gonna take 5. So I don't know if that's how they're feeling towards DK or Jamie. But I think, like those guys are, I mean, those guys are going to go down to the wire, I think. But, and he's committing pretty quick here. So, maybe that's just how they're feeling. But, we get Vernell. I mean, we'll be fine. I mean, like I said, I don't worry about our wide receiver position at all. And there's a lot of things that can change until they sign their name on the dotted line in December. So, at this time, 3 years ago, nobody thought we were getting Brandon Ennis. And magically, Lincoln Riley, give it to Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley takes off for SC, and well, bam, it opens up, and we get Ennis. So I mean, a lot of stuff can happen. So I don't really sweat commitments at this time of the year, but I think we've got a big runway to get an incredible wide receiver class. Nevada Zach Donda, thank you for the 5 again. He asked, with Quincy in the fold, is it possible we land the remaining 3, or are we only taking 2? Can't wait for the season. Go Bucks. Nevada OH.
I can't wait for the season 2. Yeah, is it possible we get all 3? Sure. Is it probable we get all 3? No. Would they take all 3? Yes.
Uh,
But the other consideration that we don't even talk about is that would be 3 pretty big hits on our NIL fund too. That not that they couldn't get the money and do it, but there is a budget, and at some point there's going to be a no. But I think if in the unlikeliest of circumstances where DeCorian Moore, Jamie French, and Vernell Brown all wanted to join this great wide receiver class, somehow I think Ohio State would make it work and make it work on NIL and make it work, certainly on the scholarships and the wide receiver positions.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, if you can get them all, great. But, the hard part about the receiver thing is like when you take 4 alpha 5-star guys, like, I mean, how long are they all going to stay? I mean, we lost the one Rogers kid to NC State after a year. So, I mean, I'm good with whoever we get because, again, there's always going to be kids in the portal that want to come here. There's always going to be the next crop of 5 stars. You know, like we got Chris Henry coming in, and we got some monsters coming in the following year. So like I said, I don't sweat the receiver thing. And you know, like when it comes to grading some of the recruiting classes, sometimes I would be like, well, let's wait and see how they all finish, because you know a lot of these kids they go into these big classes, and after a year, they dip. I mean, we saw how many guys transfer out of that room from the class 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was like they all took off, and again, so. But I like the guys that we got, and I think that you know, whoever we have. Here's the thing: whoever we have who is starting in the rotation for Ohio State is going to be absolutely fantastic. So it's all I really care about at this point, especially going into this season where it's kind of all the marbles are in the middle of the table. Luke Williamson, thank you for the 5. How do you feel about Naheem Alford going to Bama for times recently? Just what I heard. Don't know if it's 100% true. Nevada OH. I just don't, you know, I mean, when it's a kid like Naheem and he wants to go check stuff out, like you can't really, when he's a superstar, 5 stars type kid, like you know, these kids, when they commit, it's great, but you know, until you lock them in and they sign that paper, man, you know, they can go visit whoever they want. So, I think that the kids still on diligence it's twofold. I'm sure that they, you know, when you do the diligence, you know, I think that part of it is that you're developing relationships with coaches in case you don't like Ohio State in a year and you do hit the portal. And for 2, I think that it helps you negotiating an NIL deal. You know, because like I said, if you're just a kid that sits on his hands and is Bobby Buckeye and you commit early and like, do they really feel like they need to give you a big NIL deal? Probably not. But if you're visiting Bama and Georgia and making them sweat a little bit, I think, you know, hey, you know, this is what they offered me and this is what they offered me. And, you know, if you're good enough, then I think that you can use that as a leverage play. You know, like again, like JJ, he went to Florida State like 700 times in the last 3 years. Was probably getting paid to go there because that was something that was going on at a lot of these schools. So I don't know. I mean, I mean these kids like, you know, I mean Brian Hartline and Ryan Day and Mark Pantoni, they're all having strokes, you know, in the week leading up to JJ finally signing the dots because you know, they had IL to be right, and it was. I mean, they got an ironclad contract. He got a nice chunk of change, and you know that's modern recruiting. But like I said, I don't care because Ohio State can match any deal, and I was told that by a great source. So you know, if you're JJ, like we're not going to get outbid for JJ, so that's really good for the future of Ohio State football. But yeah, I just think that these kids they want to take visits, and you know, Ryan Day and Tim Walton and these guys, all they can do is say, hey, you know, if you're a lower rated guy, if you're a 3-star, 4-star guy, you can say, hey, if you go visit, then we don't think you're committed. But if you're a 5-star guy and want to go visit, they have to say, well, we want him to go check it out and make sure everything's good. And, you know, he's 100% sure with his decision because that's really your only course of action. You can't, you know, pin those guys down the way you can pin down lesser recruits. But Nevada, Luke, and again, this is a great question. Appreciate you, Luke. Thank you for the 5. He says, how do you feel about Naheem Alford going to Bama 4 times recently? Just what he heard, isn't sure if it was 100% true. Nevada OH.
No, that's not true. He has not gone to Bama 4 times. You know, look, you never say never in recruiting, but you know, a lot of people have been, you know saying Alford's going to go here, Alford's going to go there, and Alford's been really, really resolute that he's a Buckeye. He's recruiting other kids to Ohio State relentlessly. So, you know, I again, like I said, you never say never with kids. You never say never with kids from the South. But he's been about as solid a recruit as we've had in a while. And no, he has not been to Bama 4 times recently. So that much is untrue.
All right. This is great. Roger Smith, thanks for the deuce. Did Ryan Day curse out the traitor? Got my bucket hat in OH. I appreciate you, my man. He's rocking our Buckeye Scoop bucket hat, so I appreciate that, my man. I don't know if he cursed her out. I know that she was escorted out by police and was not allowed back in the building, obviously, because again, that's just regular protocol. That's not because she went to Michigan. I just think that when you're out, you're out. They don't let you pack your stuff up. So they have someone come box your stuff up. They ship it to wherever she's gonna, whatever address they give her, and they confiscate her phone, and they're gonna audit everything. You know, she's got a company phone, a company iPad, company computer. So you know, if she was again, I think she's dumb. I don't think she's that dumb. If she's dumb enough to like contact Michigan on a Ohio State issued phone, then that's impossibly stupid. Or like a company, a company email. Again, that was like with Tressel and Cicero. Like if Tressel's not on the company server, the Ohio State server, then it's not fair game. They can't come after your company email or your personal emails. But they're gonna go through all that. We'll see where it goes. Again, I don't think she's that stupid, but like I said, it's just disappointing that we have someone in our building who everybody loved and was great, but she is a Michigan person. Like her sister played at Michigan, sister works at Michigan. Her mom's Facebook photo is her at the Michigan arena, like with her dad at Michigan. So like again, like if I run the Department of Defense and I'm looking at hiring a guy and his brother works for Hamas or he's in Hamas, doesn't work for her, and you don't work for Hamas, you're part of a terror organization. I'm probably not hiring him and saying, well, golly gee whiz, there's no way that he could ever do anything bad to hurt us. Like, I would do about 38 seconds of diligence and say, well, yeah, their family is diehard Michigan people, and the sister works at Michigan, and I just wouldn't feel great about it. Again, I don't care how much she smiles and whatever dumb stuff she said in the interview. Like, I'd be good, but that's just me. And again, I'm usually right, and I would have been right here. Nevada, again, Roger, thank you for the deuce. Did Ryan Day curse out the traitor? Got my bucket hat on in Ohio. What is your thoughts on that?
No, he didn't curse out the traitor. Again, that's just a story started by stupid Sam Webb, and he started. Oh, Ryan cares so much. No, they they took escorted her out. They're checking her stuff to make sure that she didn't steal anything or anything on the way out, and it's gone. She had the special skills of being able to order more Jersey Mike sandwiches than anybody else, and that's why Mark Pantoni had to have her in that position right there. But somehow, some way, they'll find somebody else that can order that ham and cheese giant Jersey Mike sandwich and the cheesesteak that doesn't have a relative working at Michigan. That's my I know you guys listen to every one of our podcasts. So, Mark, please stop hiring people that have relatives that are working at Michigan. There are people from Ohio that you can do it, or heaven forbid, any one of the other 49 states that you can find. You don't have to keep hiring people from Michigan. That's on you. That was dumb. Don't be dumb. Stop being dumb. And I love Jersey Mike's. Talking about Jersey Mike's is making me hungry. I could have a Jersey Mike's,
It's
man.
it's fire, and you've earned it after today. But yeah, like I just feel like, well, tell me a little bit about your family in the interview. Tell me a little bit about your family. Oh, my sister plays basketball at Michigan. She wants to work at Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye. I appreciate you. Thank you. Go back to Kansas. Go back and ride on Les Miles' golf carts. That's fine. PJ Studio, thank you for being an Ultra member. Thank you for the 20. One of the most underrated stories of the 2012 season was how you turned Reed Fragel into a starting Big Ten tackle during the offseason. That's a massive transition. Talk about how difficult that was, and happy Father's Day. Appreciate you, PJ Studio. Happy Father's Day to you as well. Well, I mean, it was tough. I mean, because Reed, he came in as a tight end, but he's a guy. Honestly, I thought Jake Ballard would move to tackle too. Honestly, I thought Jake Ballard would have been a great tackle. But like when you get, these super-sized tight ends, in modern football, they just don't. They don't fit. Again, the guys that are there now are literally, they're athletes. They're lighter. They're like Evan Ingram types. They're like the guys you take in fantasy. They're guys that you split out at wide receiver. Hawkinson. They're not 6'8", 265, 270, playing tight end. And when you're a guy like Reed, it's tough because you know your NFL future is probably going to be at tackle. But you played in an offense where we ran a lot of two tight end stuff with Tressel. We ran a lot of our basic stuff, and he was a fantastic blocker at tight end. But the way Urban used the tight end was like a literal 180 from the way Tressel did. We were always flexed. We weren't in line. In line means like you're literally on the line. Flex means you're like if this is the tackle and this is the tight end, like in line means you're on the line, like right next to the tackle. Flexed means you're right off the line. So that was a more of a Jeff Hireman, Nick Vannett body type thing. And we had those guys on the roster, two guys that were NFL mid-round draft picks, really good players. So, we needed a tackle. We had a really bad recruiting class the year before. So Urban, he showed up, he saw Reed Fragel, and after about 1 millisecond, he's like, hey, he's moving to tackle. And talked to Reed about it, talked to his dad about it. Like you've got a shot to be an NFL draft pick as a tackle if you work. But you have no shot of getting drafted as a tight end because you're a big, slow, not slow, but I mean, for a tight end, like tight ends in modern football run 4.6, 4.5. Reed's running probably 4.9, 5 flat, which as a tackle is outstanding. So, we went into the offseason, and as soon as Urban got there, he moved right to O-line. And we said, look, you're going to play, you're right-handed. We're going to put you at right tackle. It'll be an easier transition for your vertical set. And Reed took to it. And again, we were on him hardcore. Reed's an interesting kid because he's so big, he's so tall, he's so muscular that like his biggest issue like in training camp was that he would cramp a ton because he was so lean and so muscular. So, we had to keep him pumped full of, pickle juice and bananas and salt and, like salt your food, Reed, so you stop getting cramps all the time. But he was a specimen. He's a guy, 10% body fat, and he weighed like 305 pounds, which is insane. But he really took to it. He did a good job. He had great length, being 6'7" and long arms. And, he got drafted in the 7th round of the NFL, bounced around the league for a few years. And, now he's working in Columbus at USI as a commercial insurance producer. Great kid, great family. His dad's one of the greatest fathers in Ohio State history. So, it was difficult, but again, he put in the work. And again, the guy, the two guys, it's funny, when Urban was there, he pulled me aside one day at breakfast. And, I'm a GA that makes peanuts and, whatever. And I was the only guy that got retained on offense other than Stan Drayton. So there were 2 of us out of the 7 that got retained between the GAs and the offensive coaches. And he's like, you are now going to be the official offensive tackles coach at Ohio State. That is going to be your title. You're not a GA anymore. You're an offensive tackles coach. I'm like, okay. And he's like, so I'm putting Reed Fragel and Daryl Baldwin completely on you. 2 guys that were conversions from tight end and defensive tackle. Reed had at least played. Daryl was on my scout team. Like Daryl, I had no idea how we were going to get him to do anything because Daryl was a big, strong kid, but he's the stiffest human being I've ever been around from a muscular standpoint. From everything he did looked painful because he was so rigid, but he worked at it, and we worked a lot. I'm talking, we were working all hours of the day with Daryl and Reed. Dolan Joel's in the basketball gym. We're all hours of the day to try to get those guys up to speed. And Daryl ends up being the starting right tackle on the 14 team that wins the national title. Reed turns into an NFL draft pick. And Daryl actually bounced around the NFL a little bit too, like on practice squads and stuff. So, 2 guys that, didn't have super high ceilings at their previous positions. They made a move, and they made great impacts at Ohio State. I mean, if Daryl Baldwin for the rest of his life can walk around and say, I was the starting right tackle on a national champion Ohio State team. Like that's impossibly cool for him to say. And, Reed can say, I was an NFL draft pick, starter on an undefeated team. So, those guys give me a lot of pride. They're 2 great kids. They're doing great work, great family dudes. Happy for both of them. But like I said, those were 2 guys that Reed, like Urban, it's like sometimes you can doubt kids, man. And I'm like, man, this is going to be a challenge. But hey, that's what they pay you for. They pay to see, hey, we're not going to give you, hey, you get to, coach Braxton Miller. You get to coach 2 guys that are, kind of underachieved through their careers, and you get to turn them into overachievers. And I took a lot of pride in that because, like I said, those guys were 2 guys that I think a lot of people didn't believe in or didn't count on to do anything. And they both did, I thought, tremendous things in their career. So Nevada PJ Studio says, I know you'll have a Fragel story for us, but one of the most underrated stories of the 2012 team was how you turned Reed Fragel into a starting Big Ten tackle during the offseason. That's a massive transition. Talk about how difficult that was, and happy Father's Day. Nevada, any great Reed Fragel stories?
Well, we've told the one, but I'm going to tell it again just because it is the greatest one. When he's on his recruiting visit and this like homeless guy's up at the door at the, I think at the Blackwell, and steals his dad's computer bag and takes off, and Reed runs after him and then just cold cock just beats the heck out of him and gets the thing back, and then comes back and he's like, you guys can't tell anybody this story because if Tressel finds it, he's going to pull my scholarship offer. So they were so concerned they kept that story quiet for years. But yeah, that really actually happened. Reed was immediately one of my heroes, and like you said, great kid, great family, great dad, and yeah. But him beating up the guy for stealing his dad's computer bag is Reed Fragel, Ohio State lore for sure.
So it's
Think you're
funny. I
muted.
found this. No, I'm good now. My bad. I caught it. I found this this quote because Urban was excellent at giving people some credit, even if it was stuff that you thought he might not notice. But he got asked in a press conference like during the 12th season, and he said, they asked about Reed Frago, and he said he was going to be a right tackle because the only other choice was a true freshman, which was actually Taylor Decker. But Taylor wasn't ready to go yet, and he said Kirk Barton did a heck of a job developing him, and Coach Warner too. So I mean, it's like one of those things where a lot of times like you're not going to give the GA the credit over the offensive line coach because it seems like kind of completely backwards. But Urban knew what I did in the program and how much I worked in the program and how many hours I spent in the program and how the kids trusted me. And they didn't trust me because I was their buddy. I trusted them because I wanted them to develop. Again, the worst feeling you could have in the entire world as a coach at a place like Ohio State is that you look up and 3 or 4 years go by or 5 years if they're a redshirt guy and those kids aren't developed to their potential and they walk out of Ohio State as an undrafted free agent or whatever. Like, I mean, you didn't do those kids right. And again, I'm not saying that they can all do it because there's some kids, it doesn't matter what you do. Eventually you just got to punt them because you can't save them all. But when a kid's got some initiative like Reed did or Corey Lindsley, highest paid center in NFL history, Norwell, highest paid guard in NFL history. At the time that they signed their contracts, Mewhort, second round pick, Taylor Decker, first round pick, $80 million guy. Like, those are the guys I was working with. And again, when Urban showed up, he thought that was the worst room in the history of mankind. So, we had to put in work, like big time. And again, and I give a ton of credit to Urban and I give a ton of credit to Mickey Marotti because those guys were absolute godsends for us and for me and for that offensive line room because those guys changed everything. I mean, we were working 6 days a week. I mean, in the off season, and nobody does that. I mean, we didn't take any days off, but it got our guys to where they became maulers and millionaires. And that's like, talk about a recruiting pitch. You come here, you'll be a mauler and a millionaire. That's what we were. And those guys were ballers. And again, I'm just so proud of that group. And those guys are all, they're all done now, which is funny, because Corey's retired. But I mean, Taylor's still kicking in the league as the left tackle for the Lions, but the rest of those guys are done. So happy for those guys. Chocolate Chip Scoochie, thank you for the deuce. Will Howard's Kansas State red zone attempt percentage is 48 for 50. So I assume that that's 48 out of 50. I'm not sure how to read that. Nevada, you might need to help me with this. Will Howard's Kansas State red zone attempt percentage was 48 to 50. I don't know if that's 40 or 50%. Because I can't tell. You didn't put the percentage after it. So I'm not sure. Again, I don't worry about anything he did at Kansas State because he didn't have Chip Kelly and Ryan Day and these weapons. But yeah, I think he's going to do great work. Nevada, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what it means, but I think it was good. I think it's a compliment. That's what I'm going to take it as, that maybe they converted 48 to 50 times they're in the red zone or something. Look, Will Howard is going to be a red zone monster because running the quarterback around the end zone and in the red zone is overpowered because you've got
Oh.
numbers. And when you take that away from your arsenal, that's why every college team, when they go to their biggest plays, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a quarterback run. And we were the only team in college football for the last 3 years that did not have a touchdown out of their QB1. Nobody else was even close to that. I don't think anybody else
Mm-hmm.
had like less than 5, and we were at 0. So that's going to turn around in a big way this year, and that'll help us red zone, end zone, and every zone all over the field.
I totally agree. Ohio State 6-4. Thank you for the 5. Yo, love the show. What is your all-time starting quarterback and running back? Mine is Troy Smith and Chris Beanie Wells. Nevada OH. I think you're on mute for a second. Try that again. Do you have an IO left in you?
I have an IO. Was I there? Was I not there?
No, you weren't. It was actually kind of funny. It sounded like you were taken prisoner because
Oh, good.
it was like you were muffled. Like I was like, no, he's the hostage. It was like
No,
taken. Like they're dragging you from under the bed, and like you're like said,
I've got some very special skills
yes, you
that
know,
make
it's
that.
it's called it's
I
yeah.
don't. I,
I can podcast every single night, no matter what day it
I
is.
don't.
We're there.
I don't have any. I don't have any money, but I do have a special set of skills. Yes,
I can order Jersey Mike's DoorDash
because
better than anybody.
Scotland took all my money today when they headed in the ball with only 10 players on the field, and they took all
No,
my money. But
Germany and extra time. Let's get it right. Germany. My home is in Germany. Thank you. Community college, here we come, baby. Oh God. I'm gonna go Troy just because Troy was the Wolverine killer, and I think Troy
he said
gets.
you can't take. He said you can't take Troy. Did you read the question?
I did. He didn't say that anywhere. He said, "What is your favorite all-time two guys?" I'm gonna say Troy because I play with Troy and I love Troy, and I'm gonna say
I thought you said excluding Troy and Beanie. I thought you said
no.
excluding
He
Troy.
said, "What is your
Well,
all-time starting
who said
quarterback?"
excluding Troy and Beanie? Did you say excluding Troy and Beanie?
No, I said his all-time two were. He said, "I'm just gonna read the whole thing again." Love the show. What is your guys' all-time starting quarterback, running back? Mine is Troy and Beanie Wells, and then OH. So I mean,
Okay,
I
see,
don't know where you
there
can
you go.
exclude it. Like I mean, because this could go all over the place. I mean, obviously, like a lot of contenders against CJ because he went second overall in the draft, but CJ never beat Michigan, so like he's disqualified in my book. I'm gonna go Troy. I might go Troy and Beanie. I mean, those are the guys I played with, and Beanie. I mean, Beanie ran for 250 yards against or 220 yards against Michigan my senior year. So how do I pick any better than him? But I mean, if I had to go non-supreme bias and say I can't pick guys from my era, I'd go. God, it's hard not to go Justin Fields. I thought Justin was a warrior. CJ was great. I'd probably go Fields and Ezekiel. But again, I'm open to whatever you want to say. Nevada, your thoughts. Who is your all-time quarterback and running back?
I'm going to go Terrell Pryor and Master Teague because Master Teague started over Trey Henderson and Trey Sermon. So clearly he's got to be the greatest running back in Ohio State history, right? I mean, quid pro quo, ergo's ergo, right?
That is one of the most stunning ones I've ever seen, man. When we started to hear him over, I'm like, what are these guys watching? We're gonna start that guy over that guy. It's like that's a Rolls Royce versus a Buick, and there's nothing wrong with a Buick. I mean, Buicks are nice. I mean, Tiger Woods drove a Buick, but that doesn't mean I'd take it over a Rolls Royce, you know. But it's my opinion. Pooh Beer 12, thank you for the 10. I hope you're having a great weekend, my friend. The per recruit average of 95.25 would be the highest in history. We're also in the mix for 9 top 80 players, including our landing DeBose or Davidson drops our average. P.S. Porter's film looks like T. Higgins in high school, Nevada OH.
I
Yeah, I'd take DeBose and Davidson, and I wouldn't even care about some nerd's average, some douchebag from 247 or on 3, or some guy that's never coached in his life, and he's some, you know, like jock sniffing pedophile that covers camps for a living. Like, I'm not worried about those guys. Like, I'm gonna trust like our recruiting staff to do what they need to do. But I think those guys are gonna be. If we get both those guys, then this is the best class in history. Then if you get David Sanders, I don't know if anybody will ever touch that class for the rest of my life. So that's just my opinion. I think Dubose he's intriguing. He's got Ohio ties. He's a monster now. His film is sensational. But I think if we get him and Davidson, it's going to be lights out. Nevada, your thoughts? Highest average ever. It's funny because like this is where we're at now. Our average is so high that if you take like a high 4-star, it actually drops the average. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy how good this class is, but it's just crazy just the quality around. I mean, it's not just heavily weighted in one position. It's not just skill guys. It's trench guys. It's not just offense. It's defense. It's a beautifully rounded class, and I do think it's going to end up the highest rated class. Now they got to do it on the field. That's a given, but this is it's a great effort. It's a great combined effort by the Ohio State staff, and really a testament to where Ohio State is in the college football world right at the top notch, and as a result, we're getting the best kids, and that's going to continue.
Yeah, I totally agree. Karis, Washington, I hope you guys are having a great night together. I appreciate you guys being on here each and every night. Thank you for being an Ultra member. Thank both of you for being Ultra members. I know you guys are watching together. And I'll see you guys on the 29th at Twin Peaks. We're going to have our next outing. It's going to be awesome. Look forward to seeing you. So glad to be a part of this family. Appreciate that very much. Father's Day is hard for my stepson since he lost him to cancer when he was 3. I look forward to the show every night. Live every moment like it's your last. Much love, family. Nevada OH. Yeah, I feel that. Yeah, I mean, you guys all know I lost my dad when I was 12. So Father's Day was always kind of different because, you see everybody get to celebrate with their dad and grow up with their dad, and I didn't get to. So I enjoy Father's Day immensely just because I get to be around my kids. And it's weird because like this is the year that outlived my dad, because my dad died at 39. So I'm 39 and a half. So I'm a little bit over what he was when he passed. So I appreciate Father's Day. But again, like when you're like living how I'm living with like my wife and kid, like every day is Father's Day. Every day is a celebration. Every day is a great day. So I don't just celebrate one day or every day is a celebration when you have, kind of the family and the wife I have and the kids I have. And I hope all you guys feel that same way. Cause again, I don't want to get morbid. I don't want to get sad, but Jamal Berry was a very, very, very good kid, very nice kid. And he passed away this week. And I mean, that kid was as in shape as I've ever, I mean, he's ripped, just the nicest kid in the world. And it's like, I tell people, I'm like, look, no matter what you're going through in life, no matter how bad it is, no matter if, you lose your job, you divorce, whatever, kid, whatever, like there's always somebody who's lying there in hospice with an hour to live that would give everything in the universe to have your problems. So, there's nothing that's too big that you can't get out of or work through or whatever, cause I know that like people, times are tough right now. I mean, I get it. Like I see the economy, I see some of the stuff going on in the country. So it's like, you got to always find the silver lining, which is something that, Nevada and I talk about all the time. Hey, no matter what's going on, find the silver lining, find what you're positive about and just stay there. And again, that's why, I have a lot of it's not a burden, but I have a lot of people reach out to me that love this show. And for some people, this is the best part of their week, their night. And so, they always have this to look forward to no matter what they're going through. So it adds a little bit of, a little layer to us where it's like, I don't want to miss because I know that there's some people out there that are counting on watching and having a good time and kicking it and learning some stuff and whatever. So, again, I appreciate all of you guys so much. Again, this show is it's a force of nature at this point. It's not even just a silly podcast that, a lot of these guys, they do podcasts and they look like they're completely miserable doing them and they don't look like they want to be there. And like, I'm always excited to podcast with Nevada and with you guys. So we appreciate that. Again, I really hope you guys have a great Father's Day. I hope you take care of each other and you get your Father's Day recipient, whoever that is, if it's your husband or your father, whatever, get them whatever they'd like. And you have a nice meal and whatever, but I appreciate you guys so much. And I know that this is and I also appreciate you guys that, this is a hard holiday because for some people, you lost your father. We've had some people whose fathers have passed away in the last couple of years that are BuckeyeScoop.com members. We've had, your son, whatever the scenario is. Like, I know that sometimes a holiday isn't always, doesn't always make you feel great. Like if your father or your mother's passed away, those are tough days. So we're thinking about you, in that scenario as well. So again, we appreciate all you guys for being on here. And again, we're always like this community that's just kind of always here for each other. So I appreciate that. Nevada, Karis, again, thank you for the 20, my friend. I look forward to seeing you guys both on the 29th. So glad to be a part of this family. Father's Day is hard for my stepson since we lost him to cancer when he was 3. I look forward to this show every night. Live every moment like it is your last. Much love, family. Nevada, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it's well said. And yeah, the live every moment like it's your last is, it might be. So gotta enjoy it. Enjoy every minute. We talked about that earlier in the class, in this podcast. And just you don't waste a minute, don't waste a word. If you have something to say to somebody, say it. And like I said, we appreciate everybody being here, and that's what makes it fun for us to be here. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys both, and I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Donald Karen at Rossbeck, thank you for the 5. Thank you for the Ultra member as well. Kirk, your senior year, did you take anyone under your wing and help out? Who was it? Nevada OH.
Oh,
I really tried to make um, an effort to really help the young guys out, the freshmen. And that freshman class was a lot of great kids. Cam Hayward, Boom Heron, Bryant Browning was a redshirt freshman. But I just freshmen don't have cars usually, so I would always make it a point after practice in my little crappy 1997 Honda Accord to go around the locker room as I was getting ready to leave. Do any of you guys need a ride to the dorms? All I have is my Honda Accord, but you guys can pile in there, and invariably I'd get Cam Hayward home, get Boom Heron home, like whoever needed it. I mean, I'd have 2 guys, 3 guys, 1 guy, whatever, jump in there. I'd run them over to Morrison Tower, dump them off, no sweat. It's totally out of my way. Mind you, I lived over by Tuttle Mall at an apartment complex, but I felt like I remembered what it was like to not have a car. I remember what it was like to have to beg for rides home after practice when you're exhausted and it's 7 o'clock at night and you're tired, and so I would always try to get guys home, and it was always a good time to talk to kids and figure it out. Because Cam, I really liked Cam Hayward because his dad obviously was Ironhead Hayward, who passed away when Cam was very young. So I just asked him, hey, how you doing? You hanging in there okay? And Cam was a monster. I mean, he started as a true freshman. Obviously, he's going to be an NFL Hall of Famer when he retires with the Steelers. But when he's an 18-year-old, it's a little different. I mean, he's a young kid trying to navigate everything. He was on a great job for us. I mean, you start as a defensive end as a freshman at Ohio State. You are as rare as rare can be. He ends up being a first-round pick, ends up being a captain. They'll retire his number with the Steelers when he's done. He's been that kind of a guy. And, so I would always just try to mentor whoever I could. Again, I always try to take care of, the young guys, especially. A lot of the older guys are kind of set in their ways by the time they get through it. But, I would work out in the afternoons. They used to have the young guys would work out in the afternoons. They had their own group at I think it was 3 or 2 o'clock or something like that. And, I was always a 6 a.m. guy because, when you work out at 6 a.m., you can get everything over with. But, in my last year, I was I'd rather work out in the afternoon because I get better sleep. I can get a couple meals in me. I can get a breakfast and a lunch in. And I always had way more powerful workouts as opposed to being, basically depraved. You work out in the morning. I usually would never eat because I didn't want to have anything in my stomach when we did conditioning and whatever. And plus the hardest part about when you do 6 a.m. workouts is I was always paranoid. Again, you guys might be different because you guys might be way better than I am. But I was always paranoid that I was going to miss my alarm. So you set your alarm for 4:45 if you have a 6 a.m. workout. And it's I would wake up at 2 a.m., 2:40, 3:10, 3:40, 4:05. And then finally the alarm would go off and I always just get terrible sleep. So when I started working out in the afternoons, I got a good strong 8-9 hours of sleep. And again, I know that sounds crazy, but when you're an athlete, sleep is as much as nutrition is great and training, sleep is really important. That's why guys like JJ Watt and Brady, they'd go to bed at 8 o'clock and sleep, they'd get their 10 hours of sleep and get up at 6 and head to the facility at 5 or whatever. And so I don't know, but I would always try to impact that on the guys. I'm look, take care of your bodies. The cold tub is your best friend. In all of football, there's no better friend that you can have than the cold tub because get in that thing. It sucks. Your legs will thank you, especially later in the season. Train your legs heavy. Don't neglect squatting heavy. I know a lot of guys are scared to squat heavy because they think they're going to get hurt, but I'm that's the way that you're going to enhance your speed, your power, everything. So I just try to pass on all the stuff that I wish I would have known because that's how I always did stuff when I would talk to young players is I would always say, what is stuff that I wish I knew when I was 18? What is stuff that I wish that a really good GA would have told me or taught me how to do or said to me to impact me in my life. And so that's how I approached everything. It wasn't, oh, hey, I used to do this, or, oh, hey, back in my day, I was this good, or I did this versus this player. None of that matters. It's how can you help those guys with their specific deficiencies? And that was something that I really helped. But with a lot of those young kids, man, those kids are scared to death. Let's be real. These freshmen, you guys, a lot of you guys have kids that are going to college, they're in college, or they're graduating from college. When you drop them off at the dorms, they're terrified. They're not at home anymore. You're not there to take care of them and baby them anymore. And they're off on their own. So then imagine doing that. And then they've got to go play football and fight for their life every day, fight for a scholarship, fight to keep their scholarship and the stress of the season and whatever. So it's a lot. So I'd always kind of check their mental temperature to see where they're at. And, you know, you can ask guys like Boom and Cam Hayward about me. I mean, they'll say the same thing. Like, I was a guy that, you know, I really cared because, you know, I think that that's the most important part about being a captain. It's not yelling and giving some stupid Braveheart speech. It's more about, you know, getting the guys to, you know, perform at their peak levels because, you know, mentally they're where they need to be. And you teach them the tricks of the trade of how to be a great player and a great Buckeye and then eventually like a great pro. And obviously a guy like Cam Hayward, you know, he expanded way past anything I could have taught. I mean, I'm not taking any credit for that, but it's like you know, he's a kid that was a special kid. And again, I loved him from the second I met him because, you know, we both lost our dads when we were like, you know, 12 years old. So, I mean, that was something that not a lot of guys get experience. Like David Patterson and I, who was a captain in '06, we had that same bond where, you know, he lost his dad young, I lost my dad young, and we had to figure out how to be a man kind of on our own, which is difficult. But it kind of is what it is. You know, you gotta, no one, it's like I told these guys, I'm like, look, no one's coming to save you. Your dad dies, man. It ain't like they shut the world down and you get some, you know, charitable donation for the rest of your life. Like you gotta go out there and get it and fend for yourself. And it's truth. Nevada, Donald and Karen Rosbeck, asking anything for anything for the 5. Asked me if I took anyone under my wing. Do you have anything to add to that? 'Cause again, this is a kind of a specific question for me, but anything to add to that?
No, that was just a great story. I appreciate you sharing it, and that's you know, paying it forward. You know, it was nice seeing you do that with the younger guys. So appreciate hearing it.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't say that because like I don't need any adulation, but it's like that. I just think that that's the right thing to do for those kids. And again, I think that like if you're a good captain, you care about those kids and you try to impact on them because again, you're gone. Like I mean, Jack Sawyer, like I said, you feel your mortality when you're a senior because you don't. There's no next year. There's no. You know, I mean, the team. You know, the team is like a giant cruise ship. Like once you're off of it, it keeps rolling along and nobody really misses you. Because again, that's just how Ohio State is. No matter, you know, you lose, we just lost Marvin Harrison, the highest drafted player at receiver in school history. And we got JJ Smith. So it's like people are almost more excited for JJ than they were Marvin. So again, no matter who you are, the boat keeps rolling along. Ryan Bear, thank you for the 5. Pathetic how that team up north fans are saying that their wide receiver coach is a better coach and recruiter than Zach Smith was. I don't even know who their wide receiver coach is. Well, I don't know. Who did he put in the league? I mean, I know Zach put Mike Thomas in the league. Mike Thomas had the most receptions of anybody in the history of the National Football League. Zach Smith recruited Chris Olave. He had Garrett. Well, when Zach got, you know, let go, he had Garrett Wilson committed. I mean, Zach, that room was cooking. You know, with Zach as the receiver coach. I mean, you know, I mean, Philly lasted a little bit in the league. You know, like, I mean, Zach, I mean, you know, Urban Meyer thought Zach was going to be a head coach, like a high level head coach. You know, I mean, you know, Zach, and again, I love Zach to death. I mean, we have very different, you know, kind of styles, as you guys know. You guys have seen Zach, you've seen our show. But Zach was a fantastic recruiter. He understood the game. And again, it's all because you worked for Urban. Like you worked for Urban Meyer as long as Zach did, and you're not a complete basket case, then you're tough as nails. Zach is tough as nails. And Zach's a guy, you know, Urban, you know, had that thing where, you know, you're going to be a head coach. You're going to be like the next Herman. He's going to push you to, you know, more control of the offense, eventually potentially be the coordinator. You know, because, you know, once you become the OC at Ohio State, you're either getting fired or you're getting hired. You're either getting fired or you're going to be the next Tom Herman. You're going to be at Houston and then Texas. So I don't know. Like I said, I'd love to see the resume, but I bet a large sum of money that Zach put more guys into the league. And, you know, Brian, like I told Brian, like, you know, Brian's done fantastic work at Ohio State, but he walked into the most loaded position room ever for a new coach. I mean, he walked into three senior captains. So you have Terry McLaurin, who could be the president of the United States, one of the greatest kids in the world. And that was a Zach Smith special. Because again, I like to give credit where credit's due. And Zach was a guy who went to war for Terry McLaurin. Urban Meyer did not want Terry McLaurin. He didn't think his hands were good enough. All these little things. And sometimes I just think it's because Terry didn't have gold teeth and dreadlocks and a teardrop tattoo on his eye and all that. So that's not Urban's kind of guy. He wants Harvin and Brandon Spikes and like guys that have got a rap sheet a mile long and that type of guy. But Zach went to war and he got Terry McLaurin. So, you know, I give guys like him and Stud, you know, Stud went to war for Thayer Munford. Nobody in that building, Mark Pinton, none of those guys wanted Thayer Munford. but Stud wanted him. Stud pounded the table, jumped up and down on the table for Thayer, and got him. And now Thayer is going to start at right tackle for the Vegas Raiders. Like, he went to war for DeJuan Jones, and Zach, he went to war for Terry. Paris Campbell was a running back, 3-star, 4-star guy with his speed. Johnny Dixon was the 5-star. That was the big time guy, and he ended up being the worst guy in the lot. And again, I'm not saying anything bad about Johnny. I think Johnny's a great kid. He was a great Buckeye, but Terry's $70 million guy. So that's because Zach went to war for him. He believed in him, and drove the kid to be great, and he's reaping the reward. So there's no chance that the current guy is better than Zach was, and I think that the numbers, again, it's just not me liking Zach and propping Zach up. It's more because just check the resume. People lie, numbers don't, and Zach put a lot of really good players into the league. Nevada, your thoughts on that? Ryan Bear, again, thank you for the 5. It's pathetic how Michigan fans are saying their wide receiver coach is a better coach and recruiter than Zach Smith was. I don't even know who their wide receiver coach is. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Zach was the national recruiter of the year, should have been the national recruiter of the year multiple years in a row. So, yeah, I'm not even sure who the Michigan guy is. Not even in the same galaxy as Zach Smith. So, just more silliness from those guys up north.
Yeah, I just, look at their resume. He's been at Michigan as the wide receivers coach. So this is great. So it's Ron Bellamy. I'm just looking him up real quick. He was a high school coach at West Bloomfield from 2010 to 2020. He was the safeties coach in 2021, and he was the wide receivers coach in 22, 23. Now he's the offensive passing game coordinator / wide receiver coach. And like, they've put a couple of late round guys into the league, but nobody like what Zach. Zach put Mike Thomas in the league. Zach, number 2nd round pick, 130 receptions in one season. Like, this guy's never seen anything close to that. It's almost insane, honestly, that someone would say something that stupid, but that's just kind of, it's silly season. That's kind of where we're at. Geodit 42, thank you for the 5. If it doesn't work out with Justin Fry and Randy were to reach out to you, KB, would you at least consider going back to Ohio State's line coach? Well, that's never going to happen. So I'm not worried about it. Cause I gave up coaching. Here's the thing. Coaching is a fantastic profession because you get to impact young people. It's awesome, but you have no flexibility, and your life, you're basically enslaved to working at the Woody Hayes, and you're chained to your desk, and you got to go chase kids around the country. Like I did it for a couple years. I loved it. It was great. But like, I love the ability to go to my kids' hockey games. I love the ability to go out to lunch with my wife whenever I want. I love the ability to have, freedom. I value my freedom and my time very much so. And, frankly, like, I enjoy what I do for a living is as good as it gets. Like, I love talking to you guys every night. I love being on BuckeyeScoop.com every night. Like, this is as good as it gets. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And it's like, coaching, the only advantage to coaching, these guys, they make a lot of money. Like, let's just be serious. They make a lot of money. But, if he doesn't perform this year, he could be, getting whacked. It's a short house from the penthouse to the outhouse. And, I have no bad feelings about Perry Eliano, but Perry Eliano was at Cincinnati down here, Ohio State, making, $500,000-$600,000 a year or whatever. And now he's at Toledo, and he didn't even work for the first 6 months of the year. So, he's at Toledo making probably $150, which is great. But to work those kind of hours for that kind of salary and potentially be getting fired, and, if you're in the MAC, man, being in the MAC is like being in the spin cycle, because every 2 years, man, those guys are moving. They're getting fired. Because if you're in the MAC, you're either getting hired by a bigger school, like a lower tier Big Ten school, or you're getting fired and you're going back to being a position coach or at a lower tier or whatever. So I don't know. I let Justin and those guys do their thing, and Mike Salini and Drevno. And again, I think those guys do a really good job. And I've known Justin Justin's 1 year older than me. He played at Indiana. They played over here in 2006, and we beat them like 44-3. And, he was the starting center that day. And it's hilarious because he's going against like James Laurinaitis and Marcus Freeman. He was a interior lineman. And, I think Justin does a nice job, but, it's not a job that, there was a time in my life where that was the dream, but the more I got into it and the more I'm just like, dude, this is, you're going to be a coach, and you're going to wake up and you're going to be 70 years old one day, and you're going to be like, I missed every single aspect of my family's life because I was chained to my desk, worried about getting some 3-star kid from Georgia to come commit to me. And that's just not desirable to me. It really isn't. I come in here, fire up the podcast machine. We talk to you folks for a couple hours. We have a great time. Then I go kick it with my kid, watch the Panthers game or the Mavericks game, and like life's amazing. So yeah, I love it. I wish those guys the best. Nobody roots harder for the O-line and for the team than I do. But those guys, they're doing it. And again, I'm happy for them, but it's just not something I'm really excited about. Nevada Geo did ask, and thank you for the 5. It says, if it doesn't work out with Justin Fry and Ryan Day, here's to reach out to KB, at least consider going back to Ohio State as their line coach. You know where I'm at with that, Nevada. I like our life right now, but your thoughts?
No, I think, if Justin Fry spits the bit this year, they've already got his heir or his replacement in waiting there, and they'll go to him. Although Barton would be great. Yeah, Barton's never going to do it. So, but Tim Drevno, good second choice. So you're not going to get Kirk Barton. So,
I love it. Well, Nevada, let's wrap this up. Good long one tonight. Appreciate you guys. Your final thoughts, Nevada?
Isaiah West committing this weekend. Mark it down. The new Quadzilla will be the second running back in this class with Bo Jackson, soon to be joined by Jordan Davison as the third running back in this class. But Isaiah West will be committing this weekend to Ohio State. It will be public shortly. Stay tuned.
Is this your favorite? I just got to know, where does this rank it amongst your favorite all-time photos? I mean, I can't get his whole face in there, but I can kind of scale.
Yeah, that like I said, AJ Dillon, Isaiah West, every day is leg day with these guys, and I think he's a heck of a running back.
Yeah, it's like he probably walked to his official visit, and he strapped like boulders and a weight vest on his back for the. He instead of taking the flight, he just did lunges all the way over to Columbus, there and back with like his hands over his head and like a weight vest on. So every day is leg day. I love it. Appreciate you guys. Nice long Friday show. Appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great Father's Day weekend. Take care of the special people in your life. Again, I appreciate all of you guys. And for those of you that your fathers have passed on, thinking about you guys too. It's tough. I'm in that exact boat. And again, it's not easy, but I appreciate you guys, and just think of some good memories. And it's always best just to honor those that have fallen before us. So appreciate you guys each and every night. Thank you for making this a huge show. It's a huge show because you guys made it one. And it's always a pleasure to be here with you guys. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. With that being said, if you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Again, this is going to be another huge month for us at Buckeye Scoop and BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys enjoy Ohio State content at the highest level, join BuckeyeScoop.com. It's the number one message board in America for Ohio State football. Not even close anymore. Again, we are growing at a tremendous rate, and we're just so thankful for all of you that are members. So thank you to all of our BuckeyeScoop.com concierge members that are a part of the show. We appreciate you guys so very much. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.